Why am I in this getup? Because it's cold. Where am I that it's so cold? Well, I guess we'll find out in this episode, won't we? Because it's relevant to this episode of Only Murders in the Building, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it is. Anyway, we're analyzing this episode through Charles's board because, believe it or not, most of the stuff we have to talk about regarding this episode is in Charles's board. Let's get to it. First of all, my dream. Charles's dreams and hallucinations throughout this entire episode kind of hint towards the possibility that Sazz removed all her parts and put them in the ash to fake her death. I know this has been a theory that's been widely discussed since the very first episode, and I never really liked it very much, but in the context of what we found out in this episode, it makes even less sense. Because if Sazz is faking her own death, she's going to get in a lot of trouble with the police for, wasting their resources, wasting their time, wasting their money. And how is she supposed to run a legal business, the academy, if she's in trouble with the police? It doesn't make sense. And if she's faking her own death, then why are we getting so much Sazz? If we're supposed to be seeing her again at the end of the season, shouldn't the show be starving us of Sazz so that they can reward us later with her appearance saying, oh, I was faking it all along? Because these hallucinations, especially with what we're learning about Sazz's relationship to Charles and Sazz's life in general, it feels like a goodbye. It feels like those 7 minutes before you die when your mind replays all your favorite memories. That's what it feels like. However, it could make sense if Sazz was in cahoots with Bev Mellon. Maybe the movie studio wants to drum up some publicity for the movie, and because we have that line at the beginning that bothers me to hell when Oliver says how convenient it is that they keep having deaths in the building. What if the movie studio realized that probably there wouldn't be another death and they needed to drum up some publicity, so they reached out to Sazz because Sazz is from LA, where the studio is, and she's in the movie Hollywood community. What if they reached out to her and were like, because would Sazz fake her own death just so the podcast can continue? No, that's fangirl behavior. That's not Sazz. Now, would she do it to mess with Charles and make a buck? Maybe. But it doesn't make sense with what we've been learning about Sazz's and Charles' relationship. I mean, she loved him. Would she really do that to him? Doesn't sit right with me. Point 2 on Charles's board. Jan said that Sazz was onto something. Now, we can assume that she meant the academy, but it didn't feel like that when she said it. It was something like she was investigating something sinister. The academy isn't sinister, it's a retirement plan. So I still think that whatever Sazz was investigating and mentioned to Jan was related to Charles and is related to the current case, and she was just unearthing something that is going on that we haven't been able to figure out. Now, could this be about the Duranov place? We'll discuss it in a minute. Third point on the board, Sazz was in the West Tower. No shit, Sherlock. Moving on. Point 4, Sazz was going to tell Charles something sensitive. Now, this could be about her retirement. However, it doesn't make sense, because how does Sazz telling Charles about her retirement affect Charles in any way? Because she isn't Charles's stunt double anymore. I mean, she's working out in LA. She's working with Bakula. She isn't working in New York. She hasn't been Charles's stunt double in years. So how would this affect Charles? How would Charles's emotional reaction to Sazz's retirement be that sensitive that she would have to warn him in advance? And also, after seeing the flashback where Sazz tells Charles about the academy, it feels like Charles would be incredibly supportive. It doesn't feel like something that Sazz would have to prepare Charles to listen, So I don't think it was about the academy. 5th point, the LA connection. And it's very fitting that Charles has this on the board, given what happened in this episode at the end, So let's discuss it. Let's address it right away. What the fuck was that? First of all, great cliffhanger. Only Murders in the Building is killing it this season, and I'm here for it. Loving it. Thank you. Second of all, no, she is not the killer. People, come on. It's a misunderstanding. The trio is going to think she's the killer, she is going to think the trio is the killer, and none of them obviously are the killers. However, the possible implications of why she was there are interesting. Because 1, how did she know about that place? 2, why was she there in that specific moment while the trio was there as well? And 3, why did she have a gun? Well, the last one is kind of obvious. She had a gun because she went there expecting some kind of danger. Either A, someone sent her there or arranged to meet her there, and this could only be the killer. But why? Or B, she's investigating Sazz's murder just like the trio, but this would implicate that she knows Sazz way better than anyone was expecting or knew about. Which is possible because, as I said, they both work in Hollywood together, and we've seen from the clues in Sazz's desk that she was at least familiar or in contact with the brother directors. So they could have crossed paths, or Sazz could have even worked for Bev Mellon before, or for the directors before. But the trio also went there investigating, and they didn't bring a gun. They didn't anticipate any sort of danger to have to protect themselves. That's why I think it's way more plausible that she went there to meet someone, or because someone sent her there, someone that she doesn't trust or she doesn't know who they are, so she immediately expects danger and comes protected. And it has to be someone that she doesn't know, because if you pay close attention, she hesitates when she sees the trio. She doesn't immediately threaten them with a gun. So what she was thinking in the moment was probably, oh, could they be the person who sent me here? Could they be the killer? And then she points the gun. So safe to say she brought a gun because she was expecting danger from the person who sent her there or arranged to meet her there. Now, why was she there at that specific moment? Well, it was established earlier in the episode that she was in the Arconia holding auditions for the film with the brother directors. The fact that the brothers aren't there with her lead me to conclude that if someone sent her a message or called her or in some way informed her of this place, it was only her, not the directors. So maybe they aren't involved in whatever this is. Now, why she's there at that precise moment, I think it only makes sense if someone sent her there. But how would they know to send her then? How would they know that the trio would be there? Well, I will talk about this when we get to concussions, but someone who is close to the investigation must have known. The same way that they knew that Sazz was going to talk to Charles about something sensitive. This could possibly be the same person, the killer. And I guess this also answers the first question, how did she know about this place? Whoever sent her there told her the address, I guess. Now, about this gun. She's using a revolver. This is a very Hollywood Western movie kind of gun, isn't it? And she says a very Hollywood type of threat, doesn't she? Don't move or I'll blow your brains out. Very Hollywood. And she says it with a very Hollywood type of face. So my question here is this gun even real? Or was she sent here by the killer? She was afraid, didn't have access to anything to protect herself. For some reason, she is invested in this enough not to tell anyone and to go alone. So clearly, whoever told her to go there, the killer, has something to blackmail her with. She was afraid, she didn't know what to do, she couldn't tell anyone, so she brought a prop gun with her. Come on, it has to be that. Point 6 on the board, the Westies. Now let's discuss this mess. I think it's pretty safe to say that the Westies slid the pamphlet in Howard's door so that he would leave. That's kind of obvious, I guess. I believe that they went there to look for the contracts. And I believe that they are subletting with this rent control scheme thingy with Dudonov. Do I believe anything else? No. The fact that they have such vulnerable renting situations just raises the stakes for their involvement. Now, I've said since the beginning, and I will reiterate here, I don't think any of them is the killer. But I think they know who is, or they have some idea of who is, and the reason they are keeping quiet, well, we can now understand it. It's because their homes are in danger. Because if the explanation of what happens involves the police finding out of what they are doing there with the apartments, of course they wouldn't want anyone to know. Of course they would be hiding it. So this information about the apartments and the way that they are renting them just raises the stakes for their involvement and makes them even more suspicious in my eyes. First of all, why in the world would a university professor need to rent all the apartments in one floor? Why the f would he do that? And who just rents out an apartment to a random stranger they met that is in some difficult situation? Dudanoff doesn't have any trust issues? This feels a lot more like a cult than it ever did before. And also, this doesn't explain the damn pig. Whose pig is it? Who's the owner? Whose pet is this? Because in the photo, Helga is holding it. But then she left because she broke up with Christmas all the time guy, and the pig stayed there. And the pig isn't with the pink eye guy, isn't with the Sazz family, isn't with the Christmas all the time guy, it's in the Dudanoff apartment. Hinting to the possibility that the person who owns this apartment goes there frequently and takes care of the pig. Where are you, Dudanoff? Dudanoff returning to Portugal is also suspicious. I am from Portugal. I live in Portugal, currently sitting at my desk in the north of Portugal. There is absolutely no way that any person in their right mind would send a ham leg wrapped around a flag. My people, that wouldn't happen. That's so ridiculous. The fact that he was unwrapping the pig ham from a flag as if they would ship the flag. It's... Oh, I'm dying. That's stupid. And I honestly, that's the biggest clue to why I don't believe Dudanoff is in Portugal. That was a good laugh. Anyway, another thing that doesn't make sense. Why in the world would Charles say that he would recognize the flag, the Portuguese flag, anywhere? What the hell happened in the past with Charles in Portugal that he would recognize that flag anywhere? I mean, it's not that common of a flag, especially in America. Most people who hear about Portuguese hear about Brazil first. So why is he so familiar about the flag of Portugal? And also, the amount they pay for rent is so absolutely ridiculous that it wouldn't even be plausible in Portugal. No one pays that little for rent. How in the world is it plausible that someone could live for 200 euros a month, rent an apartment in New York? Completely implausible. This is blowing my mind. Please someone tell me if you live in New York or you know anyone who lives in New York and actually pays this. My theory about this stands. Dudanoff is dead and the neighbors for some reason are taking advantage of the situation. I thought it was about a ham business. But it could just be about the apartments. Point 7 on Charles's board, Paradise. We find out what this is. This is Sazz's retirement plan, her academy. It's a beautiful dream that will never happen. What I think is interesting about Paradise, and especially the flashback, is the fact that when Sazz is telling this to Charles, she trusts Charles to know, but she doesn't want the other stunt men to know because they would make fun of her. Now, y'all remember the poker crew? The people he used to play poker with way back when? What if some of these people from the poker crew are actually stunt people, stunt men, who would have made fun of Sazz for her dream. Point 8, Sazz being a ham radio hobbyist. Basically, she has a ham radio as a hobby, I guess. I don't know if this escaped me, but I didn't realize this was a clue from past episodes that she was into ham radios, but I'm going to induct it into my theory. Because if she had a ham radio, it makes sense that she first heard about whatever she was investigating related to Charles from the chatter in the ham radio. And this could have been how she found out Helga. This could have been how she found about the Dudenoff place and the code to access the Dudenoff place. And maybe she didn't even go to New York before knowing all of this. I mean, if she was talking to Helga, she could have found out about this from LA. And now it makes sense that all her clues and her notes are written in random papers because maybe she was listening to the radio on her desk. If she has one, she could have done it from LA perfectly well. 9, lady's voice. The voice of the lady they hear on the ham radio, who I said last episode was Helga. And who was the voice on the radio? Helga. So I ask again, who's your murder mystery mommy? Video continuity, what is that? The Helga thing furthermore confirms my theory that everything in Sazz's desk is important. And yes, Helga is confirmed to be Christmas all the time guy's ex-girlfriend, the woman, aka the woman we see in the photo holding Hammy. But I still have questions. Number 1, who does the pig belong to? Number 2, who was taking the photo? Dudenoff, where are you? When we discuss the girlfriend, the teenage girl says, "The crazy ex-girlfriend, you deserve more," to the Christmas all the time guy. So is this implying the teenage girl is a crush or is interested in the Christmas all the time guy? Plus, they completely discount what Helga said to the trio by saying that she's crazy and paranoid. Plus, Pink Eye Guy said that he never even met Sazz. Way too quickly. Now, I can believe that Sazz got the code from Helga and most of the information from Helga, but the Westies are not off the hook. They are completely suspicious of something else. Also, why is Pink Eye Guy giving Jughead "I'm a weirdo"? Point 10. Too much ham. Written, and then below it, just 2 ham references. Point 11, there are 2 notes that we can see, but they have dates. They have 1980s dates and one 1990 dates. So I think Charles has been tracing back his memories of when he worked on browsers with Sazz to try to identify some reason why she would be doing this investigation. And I think that's a good way to go. And I think they didn't show us the complete board because that's going to be some kind of plot point for a future episode. So we can't see it now. But I'm still betting on the poker crew as being the most viable suspects, so this look back into when they worked together will probably be important for the future. And the other notes I can't see, so we'll have to figure them out later. From the board scene, we also find out that Sazz and Charles are both Oneg. That cannot be useless information. That has to mean something. And Charles says he doesn't know why Sazz was asking about the Westies, but I'm pretty sure it's because she talked to Helga on the ham radio and found out something that they were up to. Maybe about the apartments, maybe about Charles. I guess we'll find out. But that's probably why she talked to the Westies, because she heard the chatter on the ham radio. This is quite exciting. Like, come on. Can you imagine you sitting there day after day after day after day listening to a bunch of lunatics on the radio and then one of them makes sense? Alright, moving on. Alright. Moving on to the concussions bar. The head injury bar is where we meet the stuntman. You know, the title of this episode. AKA Ben Glenroy's stunt double, Glenn. Now, deep in my heart of secrets, I hope that's Ben. I'm gonna put it out there. I hope that's Ben. Because, I mean, he appears to be just a one-episode comedic point. But then why name the episode after him? and make him the narrator of the episode. He has to be more important than that. And also, what's up with them rats? I mean, if that's not foreshadowing, what the f is? And he says to the trio, be careful with the rats. So there's going to be, from the first episode when I was discussing that someone either spilled on Sazz, someone warned the killer that she was going to tell Charles something or something like that. I've said the word something too many times to have meaning. But I think it's quite plausible at this point that there will be a rat, an imposter, someone who is feeding the killer information, or even is the killer posing as someone else. And listen, I don't think it's anyone in the trio, but maybe someone in Sazz's inner circle. Someone maybe we have met already but didn't give any importance to. If it changed because I'm warm enough. Turns out it's still summer. Now for the chiropractor business. Charles finds out that Sazz was actually in a lot of pain. What else did she tell the chiropractor? That she was in a bad relationship, that she was tired of giving more from this person than receiving, and that she didn't know how to get away. Charles thinks it's him. It's not. The obvious answer is Jen. It's not her. Now, given Bev's involvement at the end, maybe it's her. But Sazz was still in the relationship with Jen, so would she get into another relationship before breaking up with Jen? I don't think so. But I still think it's a viable option. Or maybe Loretta, because she was following her on Instagram, but that's pretty loose, isn't it? Guys, what if... What if this bad relationship she was in, where she gave more than she was given, the relationship she didn't know how to get away from, what if... What if this is bakula? I am never giving up on bakula. Never, ever, ever. Because I think he's a viable suspect. His photo was on her desk. And we know what I think about her desk. I think that's the clue to everything. It's her desk. And bakula was there. I think it's him. Like, I think it's him in a joke kind of way. But sometimes I think it could be him in a serious kind of way. And the bad relationship one was a serious kind of way one. Because, she was going to be his stunt double for some project next. And I think they knew each other pretty well. So could this have been the bad relationship she was in? Not Charles, bakula. I will never, ever, ever give up on bakula. Ever. And then at the head injury bar, I'm sorry, I keep saying head injury because it's hard for me to say the word concussions. And then at the head injury bar, Charles freaking doubles for Sazz in her funeral, and they knock him on the head with fake bottles, except one of them is not fake, is real, and it's implied that Paul Rudd was the one who put the real bottle in there because he was the one who prepared the bottles. And this implies that maybe Paul Rudd is the one who's trying to kill Charles. But then, if you watch the episode, it kind of looks like he did it on purpose to cause a riot and be a proper funeral for Sazz. So, possible red herring. A side note, Paul Rudd was so much fun in this episode. Anyway, while Charles is out, he has the hallucination, then he takes the trio to the academy, and then they meet Bev Mellon. With that name, she should have scared herself to death already. In the next episode, this will all reveal to have been a misdirect. Yes, a misdirect. Alright. I need to stop this Matthew McConaughey impression. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your delusional theories in the comments. I need to start asking for comments in the beginning of my videos because I always ask at the end and no one ever comments. I'm lying. Some people commented. Thank you. Why do I speak so fast sometimes? I must have been a children that no one listened to. Goodbye, my little pearls.